Good morning, guys. Great to be with you again. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's get started. But first, let's rewind and talk a little bit about what we learned last week. Remember, the disciples were all locked in that room and they were scared. Jesus had been crucified, and they knew that people were looking for them, and they were locked in that room, remember? And all of a sudden, Jesus was able to come into that locked door. And we talked about divine mercy. And we talked about no matter where we are, that even if we're locked at home and we can't go to school and we can't see our friends, Jesus is with us. And we talked about the fact that no matter where we are, even if we're locked at home and we can't go to school and see our friends, we can still make great things happen and still do things that will make Jesus so proud of us. So I hope you guys had time last week to pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet with your parents and with your brothers and sisters. If you haven't had time to do it, it's never too late, and it would make Jesus so happy. All right, before we get started with today's gospel message, I want to show you guys something. See this? Can you see it says Jesus is with us? It's bread and the blood, and it looks like the altar, right? It looks like a table that those things would be on. I want you to remember this image, okay? So the gospel lesson today comes from Luke, chapter 24, verses 13 through 35. And the gospel lesson is about two people. It is Easter Sunday, and these two people are walking to a town called Emmaus. It's about 7 miles away from Jerusalem. And they're walking along, and think about all that has just happened in their lives. Jesus, their Savior, had been crucified, and then Mary, remember, went to the tomb on Easter Sunday and his body wasn't there, remember? And so these guys are walking to Emmaus and they're talking about this. They're saying, my gosh, can you believe what has just happened here? And they're walking along and they're walking along, and all of a sudden a third guy shows up and he starts walking with them. And the third guy says to one of the men's name was Cleopas. And the Bible doesn't tell us who the other person was. Some people think it might have been Cleopas's wife. But anyway, they're talking and walking, and this guy comes up and he says, hey, what are you guys doing? And he says, well, we're walking to Emmaus. And this person says, well, what are you talking about? And they said, well, we're talking about all of the things that happened to Jesus. And this person said, what are you talking about? What happened to Jesus? And they said, where have you been? Jesus was crucified. He was put on the cross and he was killed. And then 3 days later, today, our friends, Mary, went to the tomb to check on him, and his body was gone. He was gone. And an angel appeared to her at the tomb and said, don't be afraid. And we just can't believe all of these things have happened. And so we're just walking to Emmaus and we're talking about it. And this person keeps asking them questions about these things. And then this person starts telling them all of the different signs in the Bible that pointed to Jesus being the Savior and Jesus being risen from the dead, right? And so these guys are really enjoying the company of this person, and they say to him, hey, why don't you keep walking with us? Why don't you come on and have dinner with us? And this person said, well, I really need to get back to where I was going. And Cleopas and his friend said, no, just come on and have dinner with us. I think you'd like to hang out with us. We'd like to hang out with you a little bit more, and we'd like to get to know you a little bit better. Come on and have dinner with us. So they went to the home and they sat down at the table. You know how sometimes you've been traveling for a while and you get home and you're hungry, right? So they sit down, and this person that joined them on the road took the bread from the table and he blessed it and he broke it and he gave them the bread. And then all of a sudden, Cleopas and his friend realized this person that had been walking with them and talking with them and was now sitting in their house eating with them, it was Jesus. Now their eyes were opened and they realized that this person was Jesus. They recognized him, and when they recognized him, he left. He disappeared from their sight. And they looked at each other and said, were not our hearts burning within us? Was your heart not just on fire when you realized that this person we'd been walking with and were eating with was Jesus? That same hour, they got up and they went back to Jerusalem. And they found the other 11 disciples. And they said, guys, you are never going to believe what's happened to us. So Mary went to the tomb this morning, and Jesus spoke to her. And we're just trying to walk to Emmaus a minute ago, and all of a sudden this guy shows up and starts walking with us and talking with us. And it's Jesus. And he came back to our house, and he started to have dinner with us. And it was there when he broke the bread and gave it to us that we recognized that it was Jesus. They told what had happened to them on the road, and they told what had happened to them while they broke the bread. Now, pretty cool, huh? Pretty amazing that there they are talking to Jesus and sharing a meal with Jesus, and it takes them a little bit of time to recognize him. Sometimes great things are happening to us and we don't even know it, right? Sometimes Jesus is speaking to us and we don't hear him. Sometimes Jesus is giving us a message and we're not hearing it. So we always have to keep our eyes open and our ears open and our hearts open to hear and to see and to receive Jesus' word. Sometimes things aren't as they seem, right? Sometimes that's called an optical illusion. So that first picture that I showed you when we started talking, look at it now. You see it? Here it is before I colored it in. And there it is after I colored it in. That's an optical illusion. When you've got some time this afternoon, get with your mom and dad and Google optical illusions, and you'll see some really neat things that will pop up on the internet. Sometimes our eyes play tricks on us, just like it did to Cleopas and his friend as they were walking to Emmaus. They didn't know that the man they were talking to and walking with was Jesus. Always be looking out for Jesus. Always be listening so that you can hear him talking to you. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you're staying safe and healthy and happy. I hope you're enjoying this time at home with your families. I pray for you guys every day. Wash your hands, all right? Wash your hands a lot and say 2 decades of the rosary when you do it. That way you'll know you're doing it for the right amount of time. I love you guys, and I can't wait until we're back together again. Be safe and keep listening for Jesus and keep your eyes open for Jesus, because he's everywhere. God bless you.